want to do one little special feature here before I go hang a hammock in these redwoods. I just did a delivery from Michigan to California with the Corolla. You see the car and the trailer, with which I delivered 2 separate items. I'll try to get some sort of screenshot or screenshots or photos, I guess, in general, up on the screen. I have pictures of the one item that I dropped off, which were 4 separate faux marble panels, which somebody is using to put a backdrop behind their television in their house. I got pictures of that. I did not get pictures of the cabinet at drop-off, and I don't think I got any good pictures of it at pickup either. So I'll just fill in with some general photos from the trip. The payout for this on paper was $1,907, I believe. The cabinet was straightforward. That was direct to customer booking, and that was $1,200. The panels weren't quite as straightforward because they were through U-Ship. So I originally quoted $900. The customer asked if we could agree on $800. I said yes. And after U-Ship's cut, that was, I believe, $707 to me, totaling, again on paper, $1,907. But the first customer, not actually the customer, but the customer of the customer, my customer was the manufacturer of the panels, but the recipient of the panels, so his customer, tipped me $60 on arrival, as well as a couple bottles of water and granola bars, which was very nice. And that brought the total monetary compensation for the deliveries up to $1,967. Now let's talk about what it cost me. And I'm going to try to go through some of the very direct costs as well as some of the more indirect costs and have a real but short discussion about that. Direct costs. This is quick mental math as I just looked at my bank statement right before making this video. Direct costs, about $340 in fuel, about $70 in food purchases along the way. And we'll jump into other indirect costs in a minute, but then I did spend one night at a hotel, $65. Let's round it up to 70 for easy math. And because there may be a few other things that aren't exact in there either, like I said, it's quick mental math. I built a swamp cooler slash evaporative AC unit for my car, and part of that process was installing an inverter that I already had to use to charge the fan, and the supplies and whatnot for that cost $40 besides what I already had on hand. I think maybe I'm missing something, but I think that's it. Let's include an oil change too, because I am about 4/5 of the way to needing an oil change after getting one right before I left. Just 500 miles left till an oil change. So let's just throw the full cost of that in. That should be about $50. So if I remember right, we have 40 plus 70 plus 70 is 180 plus 340 would be 520. And then we're going to add in one more cost, which is going to be $70. No, $60, actually 59, but again, let's round up to 60, keep these numbers a little more even. $60 for a website renewal for my website that I'm paying for my business. Why include that? We're getting into indirect costs here. But while we're talking about indirect costs, let's mention the fact that it cost me about 5 days of time. I think 4 on the road and 1 actually doing the deliveries, or maybe it was 4.5, I think, half a day because I left in the evening. And then actually on the last day of driving, I also completed the deliveries. And it was kind of a long day, but it actually went very, very smoothly. And while those days happen, your other expenses are occurring because of time passing. A lot of the expenses that we have, in the US at least, are recurring monthly expenses, and they happen when they happen. So if I wanted to be really technical, I would take all of my monthly expenses, add them up, and then divide by the number of days that it took me to actually do the trip, and say, well, it took 5 days. 5 days out of 30 in a month is 1/6 of the month, right? Did I do that right? So I need to take 1/6 of all of my monthly expenses and count them as costs, because that's the rate at which those costs are taking if you average it out and spread it out through the month. So if I did that, I'm not sure, it might be higher, it might be lower. It'd probably be higher than the $60 that I actually included. But let's just say the 60, and then let's go ahead and round up just for the heck of it and to get a little closer to what might be accurate. I think we're at 520 plus 60 is 580. Let's round up to 600. And then heck, let's throw another $100 in there, because I think that if anything, I may have skimmed over things rather than putting them in, and there's probably more monthly cost. 1/6 of the month is not insignificant, and we're probably going a little bit low there. So, and I think I forgot to add in that oil change too. So let's go up to 700. Let's make it 750. I'd rather be estimating high here than estimating low, because when you estimate low, that's how you get yourself in trouble and you think you're making money when you're not. So I'm gonna estimate $750, and then I'm not gonna round anymore. I've already done that enough. Except for let's round the payout down, because it's gonna be easier math. Let's round that payout down to 1,950, just also to allow me to actually pocket a little bit of that tip and not consider it income, right? Whatever you think about that, the fact is it doesn't make that much difference as far as all this goes. It's more for easier math, and this is super, super rounded and approximated anyways. So a $1,950 payout minus $750 in expenses, approximately $1,200. $1,200 in 4 days. If we want to round that to 4 days, we should probably round it to 6 days. I'm going to round it to 6 days, and here's why. Because even though the pickup of those 2 separate items that went to California, even though neither one took a full day, they both took a portion of 2 separate days. So if we already have 4.5 days, and we're just gonna add in 2 more half days, and it's kind of hard to account for that, because even if I only spent 2 hours doing a pickup, that was still a day that I couldn't spend, completing any other entire delivery. So the real cost sits somewhere between a full day and that 2 hours. It's not exactly a full day, it's not exactly 2 hours. So let's just make it 6, because that's super easy math. I made $200 a day. $200 a day. That's the equivalent of working 10 hours at $20 an hour. $20 an hour anymore is not considered a really significant salary. And 10 hours can be hard to get because a lot of places don't want to pay you overtime or even full-time for that matter, or don't want to have you working full-time for one reason or another, which is what it is, I guess. Let's not have a discussion about that right now. $200 a day, realistically, that's not anything amazing, but it's also not nothing, and it's more than I make in a typical day at work at my day job. For a few reasons. One, the pay is slightly higher per hour, and two, I am working more hours per day, self-employed. I'm actually working a lot more hours, and we can count that as part of the cost. Part of the cost is not being home for that entire time that I'm on the road, meaning that every hour is some kind of work. Even the time that I'm not directly spending driving, it's effort. It's the effort of what it takes to be on the road, including not having any possibility of not only not just sleeping in your own bed, but not resting in your own home at all. Everything is something that you have to figure out as you go. That's a cost. And then another cost is that now I'm in California. Some people would call that a benefit. And when I first started doing this kind of thing, I probably would have called it a benefit. I've done it long enough now that I'm kind of willing to just say it's something that cancels out. I mean, it's kind of cool to be in California, and I'm definitely going to make a point of enjoying it as much as I can while I'm here, but it's still a cost. And it's a cost, A, because I'm not home, B, because I have to get home, and I will have the intention of finding something that pays me on the way home, but it's not guaranteed, and it takes time. So I've already spent time waiting around for the next load that I'm going to pick up tomorrow. And that time spent waiting is both a benefit and a cost. It's a benefit because I can enjoy California and I can also get some things done, but I could get things done at home too if that's where I was. I'd probably be able to get things done even more effectively at home if that's where I was. So that can hardly be called a benefit. It's a redeemable aspect of this part of the process. The time for rest, everything else, it's redeemable. I can take advantage of it, but the fact is that being in California is not causing me to be able to rest. I'm just able to make that happen within this context. So the cost is that when I'm eating out. I'm going to the grocery store at the very least and buying things that are snackable, not necessarily the same things I'd cook at home, and probably more expensive than. So there's a cost, and I did not include that in the original cost. And it's really hard. It's really, really hard to factor everything properly, because that's a cost not only of the fact that I got out here, but it's a cost of waiting for the next shipment. I don't have to wait for the next shipment, but if I don't wait for it, then I don't get it. If I just turned around and drove home, then I'm not getting a next shipment. So it's an optional cost, and whether I take it out of the income that I made on the way out and factor it as coming out of that, or whether I take it out of the next job, or whether I just kind of average it out and spread it out. But it is a cost that has to fit in there somewhere. So I think I've kind of given a somewhat intentionally ambiguous answer as to what are the costs, because it is a little bit complicated, or very complicated, with this particular line of work. and the way that I'm going about it. And that's okay. And I think that I could sit down and put everything into a spreadsheet, and it would take a pretty good sample of time to really know how it all comes out. And I could do that. But for this video, that's not what I did, and it's not what I intended to do. What I intended to do was give just a really generic, general overview of some of the things that have to be considered, and some really rough approximated math to give a quick idea and an insight into to what figuring all this out really entails. So hope this was interesting. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna shut this off, try to get it onto YouTube, and find a good place to hang a hammock.